One of the big verticals for our summit this year is space, and I'm sure it will continue being that way. And when we think about space, we need to think about when we settle, what do we need to have in space, in settlement, and obviously the greens, the growing is the number one problem. And how do we do it in a way to where we can create biodiversity for ourselves? And so Bart figured it out, and his company started as a solution for a space settlement. And during COVID, he's actually been a beacon of light for a lot of people who said, you know what, I am so dependent on food from the store, and now I can't buy it. I want to have control over my food, and I don't have maybe a huge garden. So the business kind of shifted now into a presence for just being a tower that you can have at your home or in your office or whatever it is. So please welcome Bart, and he'll tell you more. He's amazing, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Right, those were the wired mic.
Wired mic. Okay. All right. Arena, I'm stealing your beautiful stool.
Yes. Yes, please.
Hey guys, good morning. So, as Arena was saying, I'm the CEO of Eden Grow Systems, and what we do at Eden is we take space-age technology that's been designed for people to make settlements on other planets, and we bring it down to Earth and into your living room. I started Eden intellectually in 2014. We incorporated in 2017 with trying to understand one problem, which was how do you create a homestead farm system that uses the least amount of human and electrical energy? Along the path, we were able to hook up with Jeff Raymond, who's our CTO, and he has a YouTube channel called TheRealMartian. I'd really recommend you check his channel out because he's been doing it even longer than we have. But when we hooked up, we got together at a SpaceX conference because we were essentially giving the same presentation. I was approaching it from how do you create the most successful system for Earth, and he was approaching it from space. But when we compared the problems that we were trying to solve, they were the exact same problems. How do you help people at the very end of the supply chain or people cut off from the supply chain? How do you give them the ability to create their own food, water, and power? Now, where did this all begin? Why did I start on this? In 2014, I was doing trends research for a family office in Houston, Texas, and I kept coming across all this data pointing on the horizon that farming technology was going to be one of the most disruptive markets that was going to be experienced over the next 10 and 20 years. These were reports from NASA, the White House, Chase Manhattan, Homeland Security, and they were all pointing to a couple of different factors that were going to greatly influence how we procured our food. One is that the food system that we enjoy, that is what creates civilization itself, has been being optimized for the last 11,000 years. This is the reason that all of us can walk out any downtown area in the United States or in the first world and eat better than the Chinese and the Roman emperors. We have more variety of food than any population that's ever existed before. But the same system that's over-optimized itself also has structural inefficiencies in it that can be catastrophic in nature, as we're beginning to learn in these last couple of years. So, from the analysis of what I was looking at, there were two big drivers of why food was going to have to change. One was population growth was going to make it to where the arable land that we had access to grow was just that didn't exist. There's not enough of it. For us to meet the population demands for food supply by 2050, we would have to have another 1 billion hectares of land become available. To let you understand, that's a landmass the size of Brazil or Canada. So it didn't exist. So we knew that we were going to have to innovate our food solutions. Now the other problem on the other side of that was that there were only two pathways forward to innovate those solutions. One was to create highly centralized systems controlled by very small economies of scale, or large economies of scale, but controlled by very small distribution nodes. This is Walmart, Amazon, the big distributors. Or we could create decentralized systems and bring the technology down to the community level, to the family level, and the individual level. Now, when I was looking at all of this and reading all the documentation, I really saw moving forward into the future. Oh, thanks. I really saw moving into the future that based on these stressors that were going to come into play, again, our system functions on what's called the just-in-time delivery system. All right. We've all become a lot more aware of these terms, but in 2014 and 2015, these were outliers. I was just now learning about it. But what it was showing was, and that we've all experienced, when there's a disruption in the just-in-time delivery system, the market, everywhere that you go to get your supplies, is cleaned out. And that's because, starting with Walmart back in the 70s, and with computer technology, barcode technology, and now RFID technology, we've been able to optimize that system to where every area gets exactly what it needs, exactly when it needs it. But when there's a surge in demand, the nodes can't compensate for it, and that's where you end up going to shelves that are empty, everything's cleared out. So again, looking at these stressors that were coming in the future, what we saw is that through economic, social, political disruptions moving into the future, as technology increased, that through this system, through understanding complex systems theory, as the system becomes more complex, any disruption in the system can cascade and affect every other part of the system. So now we fast forward to 2020. We're in COVID. We fast forward to 2020, 2021. We're starting to see how these cascading effects are breaking down the just-in-time delivery system. And my analysis was moving into the future, because of these cascading problems, because of this disruptions, either caused by population growth or by disruptors, black swan events that were going to become more common as we moved into the future, I saw that society would react in one of two ways, which historically it always has. There would be those that would rush to centralization as the only modality, and then those that would reject centralization. So essentially, I wanted the solution. I wanted the solution for my family, and that's where really Eden began, was because I was like, man, if you want to be free in the future, you have to be able to sustain yourself. And again, this is how people for generations before, all of our ancestors lived this way. It's only in the last 100 years that we've become totally inculcated and indoctrinated into, we go to the store, we go outside of ourselves to get everything that we need. Whereas tens of thousands of years, your families lived on homesteads that they were at least able to supply for themselves in times of emergency. So again, the analysis showed that the future is going to go in two pathways. One, you'll have excessive centralization, where Amazon, Bill Gates, Microsoft, Facebook will continue to centralize the means of distribution. Oh, and this is an important fact, and everybody should understand. Can anyone tell me who the #1 farmland owner in the United States is today? Bill Gates. Now, who's the #1 buyer of defunct commercial real estate in the United States right now? Jeff Bezos. Bezos is, and no one knows this hasn't been talked about anywhere, and I've been waiting to bring this up. Bezos is buying up the commercial real estate because he's positioning himself, because as we transition to where food is going to become more difficult to get, he has the distribution network through Amazon that he can create farms all around the country and plug his distribution network right into it. Walmart, Costco, they're all starting to build vertical farms in their major locations. As said, Bill Gates is buying up all the farmland, getting into fake meat. Why? Because they've read the same research, they've read the same trends that I was reading 5 and 6 years ago. So they're moving to be that force for centralization. We're moving to be the force for decentralization. Because as I said, as we move into the future and these events continue to happen, the power structure, wherever you fall on the political spectrum, it really does not matter. History shows what's going to happen. The power structure will defend itself, it will draw into the major cities, and it will take full control over the means of distribution. If you want to preserve your wealth, if you want to preserve your family, if you want to preserve your freedom and the ability to make your own choices, it begins with creating your own food. It begins with taking that destiny back into your hands. So that's the message that I'm bringing to the world right now with Eden. There are solutions. There are ways for us to move into a future where we are not at the whims of tech oligarchs that will control every aspect of our lives. Because yes, they'll be able to give you everything you want, but anyone that can give you everything that you want has absolute control over your destiny and your life. Freedom begins with the ability of taking care of yourself. And if we want to live in a free society, implementing decentralized farming systems, energy systems like what we're working on at Eden is the way to do it. So thank you very much, guys. I hope that was If y'all have any questions, I don't mind answering them up here, or if y'all just want me to go and hide now. I can go and do that too.
Well, we still have 7 minutes.
Okay, all right. No, I can. It's no worry. I can talk. I can talk. It's not a problem to talk. So, the technology that we're using is NASA technology. We are going to be featured in the NASA Journal spinoff at the end of the year as a company that has successfully taken NASA technology and commercialized it. What fundamentally makes our system so different than what everything else available on the commercial market is the introduction of that technology, which is aeroponics. So if you go inside the barn right now, you'll see one of our grow towers is inside of there. Now, grow towers are becoming, really common now, but if you look at the grow towers that you see online, they can only grow leafy greens, herbs, strawberries. That's because they're using hydroponics. We use aeroponics and hydroponics and aquaponics. That allows us to grow heavy root vegetables. So right now in the tower outside, I'm growing jalapenos, bell peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, broccoli, and then we are growing the herbs and strawberries as well. In the taller tower that isn't here, we can grow hemp, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, the heavier root vegetables that really give you the calories you need to survive if you want to be able to sustain off of a real diet. Our systems also, because they introduce aquaponics, can grow fish and prawn, and are designed to be a modular system that when you can buy one tower, but you can keep buying towers that then stack into one another, connect to one another. And here's the really cool part, even if one tower breaks, the other towers pick up the slack and start operating for it. So again, the system is really designed so that you can add to it, you can expand on it, and then when you add the energy systems, which is the solar panel, the solar panels, the wind generator, the biodigester, this is what allows, and the dehumidifier, this is what allows you to generate your own water, your own power, and recycle all of your own waste into the biodigester that you can then either turn into fuel that can operate anything that runs off of regular gasoline, or you can take the biodigestate and actually use that as fertilizer around the system. And so there's so many possibilities. I have to be a little bit more focused when I'm talking to investors, but this is a more visionary kind of milieu, so I can tell you all a little bit more about what it does. The system is actually designed to where if you're in a desert environment or any kind of dry environment, you can expand outward from the system. So you can have a climate-controlled area, and then you can have gardens with hoses coming out of it where you're literally terraforming the area around into a garden. What else are other aspects of the system? You can take the system, it can function in any environment, whether it's urban, desert, Arctic. We do have modalities called the Life Pod, it has 16 towers in it, and it's designed to feed a family of 4. You can drop that system anywhere, and within 4 weeks, you're generating all your own food, water, power, recycling all of your own waste, and you can even lock yourself inside of it and produces enough oxygen for you and your family to breathe. So, this is a life support modular system that has been designed for colonization on other planets. We've commercialized it, and we're bringing it down in cost and efficiency and taking all of the thinking out of it. Because that's the other aspect of this. It's gardening without learning. Now, you will learn because the system's going to walk you through step by step everything that you have to do. So it will instruct you on everything that you need to do. But it is automated to the point, the only thing that you have to do with this tower is pour the fertilizer solution in it once a week so that the plants are getting the proper fertilizer. Now, if you expand and do the aquaponics, that requires a little bit more. You have to do some pH testing. And as we're able, this is only version 2 of the production candidate. As we're able to scale up, there's going to be the introduction of robotics, which we're already working with NASA scientists that do robotics, and artificial intelligence. So we'll be able to detect problems with the plants before the human eye can even see it. So I think that about covers what the product does. Like I said,
When can we order one?
that's a great question. So we're actually April 14th. If you go to EdenGrowSystems.com right now, you can sign up for pre-order. But on April 14th, we go fully live and we'll be taking orders.
What's the average price, and can you put it on a roof?
So there are electronics in the system. You can put it outside, but I would recommend having it covered, because the computer that automates everything, right now it is waterproof, but I wouldn't Yeah, well, it goes inside the house, inside your garage, or in a covered tent like this. It can be open air. You just don't want it getting like drenched with water, you know. And it could, but you know, you don't want to. Why? I wouldn't recommend risking it. The retail price right now is going to be $2,500. But within the next 90 days, as we reach a higher rate of production, and we're in the middle of our bridge round raise, which I'm very happy to say, Space Fund, if you're out there. Space Fund, the VC, they committed to being our anchor in the round. We're raising $500,000. They committed to $100,000. Between the family office that I worked for and a couple other groups, we're at $200,000 raised out of our $500,000, and we haven't even presented yet. So, and we have a lot. So, and there's so many opportunities. Like right now in Houston, there's a farmers market they've built in the center of the city. It's a boutique farmers market. It's massive. We're going to have the first indoor grow operation right in that farmers market inside the center of Houston, selling directly to the public, which is a whole aspect in itself. You know, people buy organic, and one of our early adopters, they told us, they were like, I buy organic, but I don't really know if it's organic. I don't actually know where it's coming from. So, you know, with our systems, whether you're doing it yourself or it's at the farmers market, you know that no herbicides, pesticides, fertilizer was used at all in the system. You know that as you're picking it, that you're going to eat it, whether it's that day or a couple of days later, which there's a whole science in that too, that the truth is we're supposed to eat living food. We're supposed to eat the food that it's picked within so many hours. Like the nutrient value of the food starts to like just crash after a couple of days. But when you're picking food right off the vine, you're getting those living enzymes into you. So, you know, her whole point was, she was like, I'll pay a premium. I'll pay more if I can walk into a space and I can literally see how it's being grown, and I can just take it and grow it right then and there. So, you know, even without the catastrophic experiences that we've had in the last, 2 years, we could look at the trends just from organic buying and people that wanted, to locally source their food or homestead. And we did the market analysis, and we knew that the market was here and was only going to grow. And so we were just positioning ourselves so that as that inflection point continued to move up, we could align with it and move up along the wave. Yes, sir.
So for $2,500 or whatever the future price is going to be, how many people does it put it to?
Perfect question. Okay.
You mentioned something about a weekly fertilizer. Where do you get that?
We'll supply it, so you order everything through our site. The app will will even say, hey, it's time for you to order your next thing. It'll just show up as an alert. Do you want to order it? And you're good to go. The price, we should be able to fall to around $1,000 per unit when we reach the higher rate of production and after we have this bridge round. There's just some components and plastics that we need to have the molds. Once we have those molds and those custom parts built, our price point drops pretty dramatically. Each tower takes about, if you're buying like between $200 and $300 in organic groceries a month, it takes about 2 or 3 years for the unit to pay itself off, and then after that, it's just continuing on and producing for you. To feed a family of 4 solely off of the system, you have to have 16 towers. If you want to feed one person, it's 4 towers. So for each person, you need to add 4 towers to the system. But that is total 100%. You're growing all your own food. You're not buying anything at that point.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.